If you have an idea, nothing's going to ever be perfect. You just got to start.
What is your advice how to go about leading companies in particular?
We all are terrified of what's come next, but the only difference is we know how to make it look like we're not terrified. Half of it is being comfortable enough to move into the next thing.
What kind of observation have you had where you said, there's really a problem in the market around teens that they can't register for platforms to receive money?
I've been quit Google to found a company to not only help teens understand financial literacy, but also help them be able to send money being underage.
What are those early insights, realizations you have had around that? Welcome, listeners. I'm Seb Wichmann, your host of the Do Good Insider, where we dive deep into raw and meaningful conversations with visionary founders and CEOs who see beyond profits, elevating the lives of employees and vendors and the planet we call home. Today's guest is an inspiring entrepreneur, Daricus Releford, the visionary founder of StoreCash, a groundbreaking fintech startup empowering teens and people above 18 with financial literacy and modern banking tools. From humble beginnings to building and selling multiple businesses, Daricus has mastered the art of entrepreneurship, operational excellence, and team building. With StoreCash, he is addressing the gap in teen banking, offering a secure cashless platform with up to 15% cashback to over 350 retailers. Daricus will share his journey from his early hustle to managing a remote team across Buffalo, Africa, and India. He will dive into his approach to hiring, leveraging tools, and creating a culture of trust and accountability. So, Daricus, welcome. How are you?
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. So, Daricus, we just had a bit of a pre-chat conversation about a couple of things that really struck me and which was the reason I really wanted to have you on the podcast. One of which is your initial focus with StoreCash around teens. That number one, I would love to talk about. I know you have a great story around your nephew there. And then also to transition this conversation into this amazing journey you have come through as an entrepreneur from those humble beginnings, right? So, but let's talk about teens. I mean, I'm very keen on empowering the young generation. I would have loved to, in particular, around financial literacy, that would have been more empowered when I was young. Talk us through, what's your story around that?
Yeah. So we started the company. I was at Google at the time, and my nephew, it was his birthday, and of course he was begging me for money. So I told him, okay, send your Venmo or Cash App or whatever. And he said, I can't get on those applications. And I was like, why? He said, well, because, I'm not 18 yet. So that got my wheels spinning because I'm realizing that I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So I got excited and I started telling some of my friends at Google and some of the other prominent companies I knew in the area. I've been quit Google to found a company to not only help teens understand financial literacy, but also help them be able to send money being underage.
Such a worthy cause, right? I'm not sure if you know people like Robert Kiyosaki, for example, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, whether or not you love him or hate him. But financial literacy is so important, right? If we don't talk the language of money and understand how it works psychologically, obviously, which is a main thing, it's all about psychology in regards to money. None of it is tangible per se. It's all about, I actually talked with somebody else about that it's our trauma that wants us to spend money, right? Our childhood's upbringing. And if we haven't had parents, that had a positive relationship to money, we grow up in this not knowing how we need to treat money, right? So talk us through what were some of those kind of early, and I know that StoreCash, you have pivoted the model just recently into, I think, 18 plus for various reasons. But talk us through what kind of observation have you had where you said, there's really a problem in the markets around teens that they can't register for platforms like Venmo, for example, to receive money. What are those early insights, realizations you have had around that?
Yeah. So we realized that you needed a parent to sign up in order to get the teen to sign up, of course, right? Because they need that approval. But another thing too, well, at least as I was growing up, my mom, she never really gave us any money. She kind of more was like, I work for this money.
Mom,
You
don't
got
listen.
to that gave us this um uh understanding about money is that you have to work for it and you need to do something in order to get it. So that kind of made us just automatically kind of grow up, and I say us as me and my twin brother, made us kind of grow up and
Oh, you have
understanding that
another handsome twin brother. That is
yeah,
amazing.
another one. He's not as handsome
Great.
as all right. Yeah. And we just started kind of, we had a job. It was this job called CDG, and we were telemarketers pretty much. We were getting about $15 an hour in high school. So we would realize like, hey, after taxes, we're only getting paid about $80, a day. So we can only spend $20 a day in order for us to save money and put money aside. So we had that relationship kind of with understanding money very early on. And then when dealing with our nephew, he had just gotten a lot of money and he was asking us for money. And we were like, what's going on here? And he was like, well, money just kind of goes and I don't know where it's going. And that's what really got us excited because we were like, we had this early understanding of money, but if we can help other teens, it could get them a lot further in life, as they get older and older and older. So, our earlier days, we were probably too old for our age, kind of old souls, like looking at every penny and everything like that. But it really helped us out as we move forward in life. So we wanted to try to help other teens do that, along with helping them be able to receive and send funds. So early days kind of helped us move into this whole
Amazing.
business.
Yeah, I love that. I don't see a lot of entrepreneurs focusing on teens for various reasons, some of which is that most of the time, they're not the buyer, right? Well, they are the influencers, but they don't have the money. But anyway, I would love to, before we go into your journey as an amazing entrepreneur, I would love to dig a little bit into your own relationship to money. Now, you have come from very humble beginnings. You just mentioned that, I'm not sure if you ever had a lot when you grew up, but didn't sound like that just from what I know from you. But talk us through a little bit, like, how has your relationship changed and kind of what is the relationship to money like right now?
So right now, I have a lot more of it, but even now, I notice like for example, my wife, she was spending too much money on DoorDash, and that was my indication that we need to put more money into another investment, which is why I'm in a house in Joshua Tree, because we just bought this house as an investment to do more. So, although I have more, I'm still focusing, and probably a little bit too much, but focusing my money on different investments and still trying to keep that hustle mentality kind of in me. So relationship to money now is more of, yes, I have more of it, but I still want to keep that same understanding of saving, investing, and trying to, because the more you get out of it, the more it's completely gone, and you want to, it's that caviar. If you don't know how caviar tastes, you'll never need it. My mom, she always told me that. She said, and she related this to drugs. But she was like, you never know how it tastes. You'll never want it. So don't try it, and that really stuck with me. And it stuck with me for many different reasons, right? If you never know how caviar tastes, or if you never know how, these things taste, you'll never actually need it or want it. So I've tried to stay in the mentality of the way I've grown up, but still take that additional funds and try to do different things with it. Now that doesn't mean that, I don't live a good life. I drive, nice car or whatever, but I try to focus most of my attention on making sure money is making me money more so than, the other way around.
So, but psychologically, do you struggle to spend money? Do you struggle to spend money on the wrong things? Do you struggle to make money? Like, what's your psychology? What's your relationship to that? Because some people, for some people they make money and money goes straight out. For some people they can't make money. It's not the problem, but for some people they really dislike spending money, and you kind of restrict the money flow that way, right? So where are you at?
Yeah, so I'll give you a story of where I'm at, because I think where I think I'm at is subjective. Where where I'm at, okay, so since 2012, when I was on the East Coast, I had got a chance to see the first Tesla drive across the country, and it was driving in the opposite lane, as I was going. And I was like, wow, that's the first Tesla, because there was no other S on the road. On yahoo.com, and yes, I was on Yahoo, they were talking about it was driving across the country, and I saw it driving across, and like it was just, it brightened up my whole day. It's super exciting. And I've been following Tesla since 2012. Super big, fan of Tesla and what they were doing over there. So I had just bought a house. And, I had just had a daughter, so I bought a house for my family and things like that. And my Tesla, this was the second or third time I was on the wait list for my Tesla, and I had passed it because it's like, I need to buy a house, And then when I finally got a house, and the Tesla came up, I said, no, I need to save this money so we can make sure that this and that. And my wife forced me to buy the Tesla.
Oh,
So
right. So the opposite.
Way you need to do something for yourself, because even these earrings, I was talking about these earrings for 10 years, probably easily 10 plus years.
Right.
And she said, it's time for you to get something for yourself. So
isn't that interesting? What a nice wife you have. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
So
that's great.
To me, I think I spend money, but I might not, it took me 10 years to buy these earrings for myself.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. So let's pivot the conversation a little bit. Let's talk about your humble beginnings. I was really inspired by, I don't know the full story, but the conversation we've had and the kind of stalking we did online of Daricus. You come from very humble beginnings, and you kind of found yourself eventually becoming an entrepreneur, and you realize probably you're pretty good at it, right? So talk us through, what were those insights that you took or that you take right now, the reflection even from your journey, lessons learned, kind of challenges overcome. Talk us through that. The whole story.
Yeah. So started entrepreneurship when I was 12. You talk about not humble beginnings. My father, he had a drug addiction issue, and which is why I've never drunk or smoked in my life. But he had a drug addiction issue, so he was in and out of our life, and about maybe 20 or 30 times he's taken everything out of the house, and then we would have to go to areas to go pick it up and pay people to get our stuff back. And so it was a lot of that throughout my younger years. And when I was 12, he had, we were in, I think, sixth grade, and we had came home, and my mother was off on a military trip, so she really needed him to actually be there. And he ran, so he had took everything out of the house, and we were kind of there all alone. And, it was me and my sister and my twin brother. And we said, well, let's help mom. Let's start mowing lawns. And she said, no, because you guys go cut off your fingers. So we did it behind her back. And the summer had just started. And by the end of the summer, we did, I think it was like 3,800 that summer. So when she came back and she saw, and we would put the money in our socks because we were scared of like him coming back and maybe taking it. So like, we didn't really, we couldn't really get an account without our mom. So, and she was off on a military trip at the time. So it was difficult for us to kind of figure that whole thing out. But when she came back and she saw all this money, she thought the worst. And we were like, no, we borrowed our friend Brian's lawnmower and we started mowing lawns. And she's like, really? You made all this money from mowing lawns, And we have then bought clothes for, the next year and things like that. And, we did it that next year and made like 52 or 5,300 that next year for the summertime. And then we had to move. So we moved. And then when we moved, the next company or the next place, we were on military installation. So next military installation had Purcern. They had took over the lawn mowing for the whole base. So we said, okay, we'll buy a hot dog cart and start, a hot dog cart, and that later turned to a concession stand. So our mom, she helped drive like 14 hours away to buy this hot dog cart, and then we drove it back, and then it like grew from there and turned to pretty much a concession stand with a whole bunch of different things, funnel cakes and all that. So yeah, from 12 to like all the way until we graduated college. I'm sorry, not college, high school. We were doing this business on weekends and things. We were doing like $6,000 on weekends at different DC Stones Hole Picnic and DC, Maryland area and things like that. And then we went to college, Penn State, and we didn't have much money. So, we stay out in our cars for like the first 6 months, and we would drive back on weekends and stuff and come back. And then when we realized, when we kind of got settled and actually got an apartment and things like that, we then, went through school and then got the itch again, started another company. And it was
so
a chocolate
you
company.
really got hooked at that time already. You were like, oh, that's really interesting. We do something, we sell, we make money from nothing. Is this the way you thought about it? Did you see opportunity that time already?
Yeah, we saw that. And then we also saw that like, a lot of kids around us were getting in a lot of trouble, and we wanted to kind of keep ourselves busy because college was tough, but it wasn't that tough. It was one of those things that like, it'd keep you occupied for like half the day. And then we'd have to find something else. So we started like going into weightlifting, and we were really like big in weightlifting and stuff. We were like, we need to do something to make some money.
You're still big now, right? You're still like, you have a good.
Yeah. Yeah, like trying to stay in shape, try to. Now it's more about keeping my weight down more so than bulking up. But,
Yeah.
it's we went through school and we started that chocolate covered strawberry business, and right when we got out, we really tried to boost that off, and we took $25,000. My mom went overseas to help us put some money together, and then we put some money together, and that company went from in 2 years from the 25,000 to like 2.2 million in sales. And we were featured on Steve Harvey's show, Kiplinger
That
magazine.
is amazing. Right.
A few other like things we did.
So-
and yeah.
Did you add to the product portfolio? Like, did you add like any other consumables or just fruit, or like how did you suddenly get to tune?
It started off with chocolate strawberries where we could ship them all across the US. So we made this custom packaging, and we were thinking about women. That's why we started a chocolate strawberry business.
So it's strawberry and chocolates. How do I imagine that? Like, so I like those things. That's cool.
Chocolates. And then our packaging had ice packs with our logos on it. And it had this certain packaged with foam, insulation, and berry crates, and then berries leak juice. So we had these like plastic on one side, but like berry, like almost, I don't know how to describe, but like a tissue with our logos on it. And we could put the chocolate strawberry in that, and then that would be able to leak, the juice. But if you package it just right with the right amount of ice and keep it cool enough, it can last for about 3 to 4 days in that package. And then
Right.
of course you put it in the fridge. Yeah,
So they weren't dehydrated. They were just real
yeah,
juicy. How, like, give me like a flavor, the real juicy strawberry, and then what, you covered them in chocolates in
yeah.
the factory or at home with a thing, or what?
So we had
I
we
just
got
imagine you
certain.
like hiring like 20 people and just like in the kitchen at home.
Exactly, exactly. So our
Right.
stepdad, his name's Glenn, and we were like, we got all these orders, like we need to do them somewhere, and he was like, "You guys can use my house." So we used this house for like 2 years.
Making 2.5 million.
Like,
That is great.
yeah. And the top, it was a townhome. So the top, we made chocolate strowberries. Then it moved to the next floor where it got packaged. Then it moved to the last floor where it was off on the shipping, UPS truck. It worked out. It worked
Incredible.
out. It was terrifying as we were getting the orders, but we then start hiring some teens, set them up, and then they would come after school and help us like package the stuff up, and it worked out really well. Worked out well.
What
And
did
then
you
we
learn? Like,
store and stuff,
so
but
so
yeah,
in
we did.
these initial stages, what were those lessons learned? What were those challenges? If you now reflect on it and looking back upon it, knowing what you know now, like what have been those learnings there?
So that, if you have an idea, it's nothing's going to ever be perfect. You just got to start. You just have to start. We, I'm all, I try to be a perfectionist as much as possible. I think I am a perfectionist, but that's me talking. I don't think I'm good enough, or I don't think I've done enough, or this or that. But my wife would say I'm a perfectionist, and I wanted everything to be perfect. And then, I realized that we weren't going to get anywhere if we didn't just start. So we started, and then as the problems occurred, we solved them as they kind of came up. And it's terrifying because, one Valentine's Day where we had a bunch of orders.
I
Um,
imagine Valentine's Day is your busiest day in the year, right?
yeah,
For the
oh yeah.
women, I would surprise my woman probably with a bit of a chocolate strawberry if I would have one.
It was by far the biggest holiday for us. And
Yeah.
we had just got off the Steve Harvey show. We had just was in on front page of the Kiplinger magazine. Back to back with berries in our hand, right? Like, so like, it
That's
was
great.
terrifying when we got hit with a snowstorm
Oh,
the day before. Like, it was 2 days before
whoa,
Valentine's, and we
right.
were like, we got like 1,500, 2,000 orders, and the majority of them are already ready. And we just got hit with 10 inches or 15 inches of snow, and nothing's open. UPS is not open. So how do we get these orders out? So, one big lesson we learned is, when you're dealing with customers, you have to be transparent, and be personable. Because what we did was all the kids showed up, we all were there, and we were like, "What the hell do we do?" And because
How
we
old were
couldn't do
you?
it,
Like when you say
going in.
kids, like how old at that
So
stage? How old
there
were?
were 16, 17-year-old kids coming home from school, and then they would come
And
and
how
help
old were
us.
you?
And I was 22, I think.
Okay,
I
at
think
least you were
22.
you're
Or
not a minor
yeah,
anymore. That's good to hear.
yes. Yeah. I had just got out of college, so, and we
Yeah.
graduated. Yeah, 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 about 22. Yeah. And like, we were, you know, like, all these people have just seen us on all this stuff, and then like we're not even going to be able to produce. So we said we're going to be personable and we're going to give them all phone calls. So we had all the kids. We said, well, pay your month's, bill for your cell phone. Let's give all these people calls. And we gave them, 150 people to call, 200 people to call, and we all called. And we just told them the situation. And about 85% of people were okay with it. And they were like, we're just happy to support you. We're okay with, this, coming a day or two late. And thank you for letting me know. So that was one big lesson that I learned. People are understanding, but that's if you're personable, if you, take the time out to explain things to them and call each individual one, or each individual situation, and make sure you, work it out and one-on-one. I think it can go much better than just sending everybody email and telling them they're going to get their stuff 1 or 2 days later.
You know what this reminds me of? It's just big or small companies, this piece around authenticity, this piece around honesty, this piece around being customer centric. Like, to me, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, knowing now what you know, Daricus, if we as entrepreneurs, and I totally include DoGood's agency in that, but there's so many companies out there that are not transparent, that I don't believe are truly customer centric. But if you wear your heart on your sleeves, your sleeve on your heart, I don't even know how the saying goes. You know what I mean?
Or something.
You have that humility to be able to do those codes. What do a lot of companies do that try to hide things, right? Because they weren't honest from the get-go. And that is a problem, right? What are your thoughts to that?
Yeah. I think Amazon did this well. And I think they're doing the best they can at how big they are now. But, I think a lot of companies don't do that. They almost look at you as a number in the system and don't really realize, that we want to understand too. And if we can understand where you're coming from and why you're making these decisions, we'll be more understanding to the company and more supportive for, of the company. I think as you get bigger, it is harder, but I think that it's even more important for you to keep that level of communication with your customer base.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so important. That to me is, if anything, if you lose anything in terms of your ability to produce because unforeseen circumstances, the ability you have is to communicate, to be honest, to be, forthcoming and say, look, we did X, Y, Z, and it hasn't worked out. My apologies, and this is how we make good of it, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's move on. So that was a good success. Lots of learnings, lots of challenges, lots of agony, I'm sure. What happened from there? And you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So we had then opened stores after that. We had about 3 or 4 stores on the East Coast. And that's what we could manage at the time. And I knew nothing about VC funding or anything. And so we were trying to do all these things with our own funds and like recycling our funds. And we were on the military installations at the time, and we had X times 3 their sales that they've done for the last like decade. So, that first year we X times 3. So they were like, please take all of our locations. You guys just manage them, and they said, can you take 76 store locations? And me and my brother looked at each other and we were like, there's no way we don't have enough money for that. Now, being a smarter businessman, we should have got investors. That would have been a perfect situation, but we couldn't, because we just didn't know about the whole situation and how to get investors at the time. So what we did was we sold our system and concepts to them And we just said, we opened up these 3 locations. We know how much we could make over this period of time, and then just sold that concept to them. So that really worked out financially, for us. But at the end of the day, it was, really lowballed when I think what we could have done with investors, right? So when that whole situation happened, I always wanted to be in tech, and I was always peeking over in Silicon Valley, see what's going on over there. And companies that started when we started are now billion-dollar companies. And I'm like, what are they doing over there? I have to go over there and find out what the heck they're doing. So once we sold this company, I was like, if I don't go now, I'm never going to go. So I literally hopped in my car, drove cross country, and just like sat in
Because
Silicon Valley,
you were where at that time?
Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania. So you drove
Pennsylvania,
all the way to
Maryland.
to Silicon Valley to learn and to observe and to see what the buzz is all about. And when was it? What, 2000? Hopefully not 2001 or so. When?
No, that was like
When?
2013, 2014.
Got it. Right.
Yeah, it was terrifying. But I kept
Yeah.
telling myself, if something goes wrong, I can always go back home, and I can always go back with my family or whatever. And I was like, the plan was to go there, work for major tech companies, because I was like, I didn't want to work anywhere else. I always wanted to work in tech, or like my own construction company. But when I said I was going to go there, I was like, I want to work in tech. So I went there, and for 9 months, I did not get a tech job, but I was trying to understand how people operated there, how things went, how investments went to all these different events and things. And I kept trying to get a job, and I was trying to understand how to get a job. And I cracked the code of the whole job thing. And then I worked at Apple and Facebook and Google. And while I was at Google is when I came up with the idea of StoreCash. And I got some of my friends
Why at
together.
Google? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can I just pause you for a second? So like looking at those companies, Google, Facebook, Apple, not from a hiring aspect, but what type of talent are they after? Like what made you stand out? Not you per se, but the skill you had that made them like, yes, I want that. Just for the listeners also to understand, how do they work from a
Yes.
hiring top talent perspective?
So hiring wise, so there's a big thing about culture there. That is almost about 50% of it. And that was one thing I was lacking most.
Not a great start.
When culture, so part of me cracking this code was, I would go to these, I had an apartment at the time, not so great, but I would go to these expensive apartments, and, I couldn't afford it, but I would say, hey, I want a tour, go check it out and like just, feel the environment. I felt like if I was in the environment, some point I would, become that or get close to that, and understand how to be around those environments. So one day this guy ran down the steps and he had no shoes on. And he was like, hey, and a lady said hi to him. And he was like, hey, how's it going?
Was
He
Steve
said,
Jobs, no, was it?
It almost looked like, but not quite. But he was like, and the way he ran down the steps and the way he ran back up, in my mind, I said, oh my God, that guy has so much money. And it stuck with me because I was like, how did I know he had money? Yeah, he's at this apartment complex, but what in his body language made me feel like this guy was wealthy, always had money, rich, what was that? And I realized the carelessness, in the way his shoulders dropped, and how easily and how how soft his voice was. And, I sat with that for about a week or two. And I had told my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, I told her, I have to act like nothing has ever happened to me. And I realized at that point in those 2 weeks that I had a chip on my shoulder. And I knew I was good, but I thought I was, I had this chip of, I'm better than all these people. Why aren't they giving me an opportunity? And really what I should have had was an attitude of, I'm from Stanford. I've never had any issues in my life. And I'm just here trying to get a job. And with that attitude, that changed the perspective of people looking at me, because I truly believe people want to hire people that don't look like them, but they don't know if they're going to fit into the culture, right? So I almost tricked the system I said, okay, hire these people. So I went on the Google campus, went on the Apple campus, and these campuses are pretty much open and the employees are pretty much walking from one building to the next. And I saw how they walked and how they acted, and I almost imitated that. And I'd be damned. I got a job interview, and that next job interview, I got a job, and then
Isn't that interesting, right?
Yeah.
So is it like that's so fascinating to me. Like, did you just soften into, like, I don't know, like, I belong here, I guess, and I am somebody that has been, at Stanford, and kind of you're relaxed into this in your body language, just was like, I have nothing to worry about. I know I'm good. I know this is my culture. Did you come from that frame and you kind of let go of this, I was like, need to perform and being more tense in needing a job, or like, right?
You got it. 100%.
And isn't that interesting, right? What's the lessons learned here for, I guess, people that watching that are in hiring right now, that looking to hire top talent? Like, is that a key to success? Do you think, to look out for this almost like this groove, this smoothness, this relaxation versus people being too stiff? Or what are you looking out for? Like, what would you do right now?
It's definitely a vibration. It's a vibration. Right. And, you can get to that vibration a lot quicker with meditation and things. This is stuff I did not know prior to coming to Silicon Valley. I didn't understand. I just knew I was good and I was able to do this and I can do it. So why am I not getting the opportunity? So when I changed this part about myself, I realized that, it's very similar to going, and I've explained this to a few people, and a few of my friends. I'm like, if I go into, and I went to so many different types of schools. I went to 16 different schools throughout my upbringing because of the military brat, right? So I went to a lot all white schools. I went to mixed schools. I went to all black schools. And one thing I realized in all of them is, when I went to the white school, I had to adjust to that culture. When I went to all black school, it's crazy because I had to adjust to that culture because I was in all white schools all my life. Right? So I had this, what they called was black but talk white. Like, so I had to adjust myself to talking more of the culture of an all black school. Right. And then when I was in a mixed school, like, I had to adjust to whatever that was. If that's down south and they all talked a certain way, or if that's up north and they all talked a certain way, I had to adjust. It's the same thing with jobs. And some people will say that's changing who you are, or this or that. But, you do it even if you're working at Wendy's, just on a smaller scale. Right. When I was working,
you show behavioral flexibility, right? You show that you don't have just one approach. You can step into multiple approaches, and that to me is a superpower. That is awesome. Such great insights. I love that. Yeah, and I think that we could talk for ages. Take us through a little bit more. So, like Google, what was maybe if we take one step further, talk us through your, so you now have been recognized. You have many many recognitions in your life. Talk us through this a little bit. Just use a little bit like Daricus now, where you are at, what's your future looking like? Talk us through that a bit.
Where we're at right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we now with StoreCash, we've raised about 6.4 million. And we are now moving into our Series A. We're hoping, of course, to grow a massive $1 billion company. And I believe we're going in that direction. We're hitting our goals for Series A. Getting very close to them, so we will hit them because we still have a whole year now. It's been going really well. Got about 40,000 people using the platform every single day. About 100,000 members. So it's going really well.
That is amazing. Congratulations. Is StoreCash right now your major focus, or do you have other focuses as an entrepreneur?
So, as an entrepreneur, no. I mean, I have, an Airbnb, and then now I have this one that the home I'm in now. But outside of StoreCash, no other focuses at the moment.
No strawberry business, mango business, banana business, none of that?
No focuses at the moment. Mostly, I have a 3-year-old daughter. So I want to wait until she gets more of age and can kind of manage a little bit more on her own, for me to add any things additional to the plate. And with StoreCash, it's busy enough. Like last year, our office is in Buffalo. So, there was more obligation in Buffalo last year, but I counted my flights. I was on 106 flights last year. So
that sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm sure not all national.
Yeah. Well, no, but clear across the country. So
majority.
From LA to Buffalo. So in most cases, some were out of the country, but not many. So
that's incredible. As a last words from you, for the listeners, if you put yourself into founders, CEOs' shoes, maybe you're reflecting on the insights you learned from the guy running bare feet, which wasn't Steve Jobs, down the staircase. You're realizing that it's really about this kind of this relaxation, almost this knowingness that you belong, to where you want to be. Like, what is your advice? What are you maybe implementing in your own life, in your own business, of how to go about leading companies, in particular?
So I would say we all are terrified of what's to come next. But the only difference is we know how to make it look like we're not terrified. So I know it seems like other entrepreneurs are like, oh, you're so calm, you're so, collected. You like almost seems like, that this next thing is going to happen. And I have my moments, right? But most of it, or at least half of it, is being comfortable enough to move into the next thing. And then also having that calm and stillness and belief that you can pull it off. But with that being said, it still terrifies all of us. I'm sure Steve Jobs was still terrified. I'm sure all these Elon, if you hear some of the stories of his many wives, but some of his wives as he's building Tesla and his sleepless nights and things like that. Whenever we see him, it's like, I know this is going to work and everything is fine. But, behind closed doors, we're all scared. So part of it is believing and also making yourself look as if you're not scared. And then you can bring a lot of the people along with you in order to actually complete what you're going after, to complete. Because if you're terrified and you're trying to hire somebody that you need, and they see it, they're going to be terrified too and probably not join you. But if you look calm and collected, and you need them in order to get moving, and you need 5 other people, and you get all those people on the team, and you keep everyone calm, it almost works itself out. So part of it is of course, front image of everything is going to be fine. But then you also have to believe that, as you move forward, understand you're going to have your ups and downs. But the majority of the time you need to, know everything is going to work itself out and it'll be fine.
You know what though? Like, I would argue that it's not a facade for you. Like, what I see in you, Daricus, it's kind of this ability to be on in the moment, to be calm in the moment, and to communicate this kind of sense of clarity and the sense of reassurance that everything will be fine authentically in the moment. Is that not right to say?
Yes.
Because you can't fake it. People, they smell bullshit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've always apparently have been good with not showing it much on my face. But also I do believe so I believe that we are going to get Series A, and I do believe that this company is easily going to be worth over 100 million, and we're probably going to sell it 100 million plus, right? Or it's going to go to $1 billion and we'll go into an IPO. I truly do believe that. The steps in getting there is the scary part, because you get there's so many roadblocks, and that's what is. So you believe the end goal, but as the roadblocks come up, it shakes you a little bit. But I guess that's a better way of saying it. I believe the ultimate goal, but as you kind of go through those roadblocks, understand that just roadblocks, you'll get past them. But stay positive, and it all work itself out.
I love it. Daricus, it was such a pleasure talking to you. I feel like we could talk for a whole day. I actually, when you were talking, I thought, shall I maybe just, pause here and we have a second podcast, but that is stupid as well. So from the heart of heart, I just want to thank you for your time. I don't always have conversations that are as fun and as authentic and just as, vulnerable as you presented yourself with. So I just wanted to thank you for that. I know that there's so much more to your successes than you are a very humble guy, for sure. And that probably is the reason why you are the way you are, why you have been recognized the way you have been, because it's not the successes that I feel that you want to be known for. It's kind of the impact that you want to be known for, right? And I really acknowledge that, and really super grateful to have met you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and I had a great time.